Rudy's Nightmare. Featuring
Hello, this is Jim Martin with RenoPinball. We're here today to do an installation video for Planetary Pinball's Funhouse, Rudy's Nightmare. This is the upgrade kit for the Williams Funhouse machine, and we're going to go through all the pieces that are included in the kit and do an install video for each and every part. This video was created to supplement the instructions included with your kit for Funhouse, Rudy's Nightmare. Parts included in the kit: an assembled speaker panel, an assembled LCD board to replace the mirrored light panel, the cabinet art blades, the Fast Pinball MPU board, the PinSound soundboard, all the cabling required for the LCD screens, a Funhouse Rudy's Nightmare t-shirt, the replacement Funhouse Rudy's Nightmare BACKGLASS. Remember, you'll be reusing all of your existing hardware. Please remember to unplug your pinball machine before working on any electronic component. This is step one, removing the existing boards. Step two is to remove the mirror light board in preparation for the installation of the new LCD panel. Remember to save your hardware. As often happens on a repair or a replacement, the post came with the bolt. That can happen. Reach behind, unplug the board, and remove the entire assembly if need be. I will be removing that to replace in the game. Step three is to install the new LCD panel. You'll start by fishing through the HDMI cable and the power cable for the panel, remembering to leave the 90-degree ends on the playfield side. Once the wire has been fished down through the playfield, you'll replace the original plastic. Which will move the wires off to the side, like so. Now, we'll install the LCD panel by first plugging them in. And this is why you want the 90-degree cables here. And I've used a zip tie just to kind of wrangle the cables right there. I found it easiest to install this panel by putting it on the left and then rotating it to the right. It's a very snug fit. I'll bolt that on and we'll be done. You can see that's a little tight. I'm going to actually have to use a wrench to put this bolt on. Now I'll be feeding these cables for that screen up into the back box. I'm going to use some zip ties just to help wrangle these cords. Remember to always cut your zip ties off flush. Don't want any scratching. I'll be feeding these back here behind. Then we'll be dropping the playfield so I can reach up between the playfield and the back box. Always make sure your stand is secure. I'm unable to reach, so I'll just have to do this by hand. Now we'll be doing step 5, 6, and 7 all at the same time. They are installing the new boards and plugging in the original ribbon cables. Start with the pin sound soundboard. Be careful as you install this board that you're not unplugging the USB dongle. That's where your software lives. Or there's a small SD card that is on the side. You'll want to make sure that you don't eject that SD card as well. That board's in. We will tighten it down. Always tighten your screws. It's your ground. Now we'll install the MPU board. I've already installed the original cable, ribbon cable, into the top of the MPU board. Fish it in here between the wires. These need to be loosened. There. Now I'm catching. Now it's all the way seated, and tighten these screws. And install the 2 ribbon cables. If you get confused when installing a ribbon cable, it's a good practice to remember the red stripe on any ribbon cable designates that as pin 1. So if it gets thrown around or something and you're not sure, you can always go back to knowing that the red line indicates pin 1 on a ribbon cable. The pin sound board is actually keyed, so it can only be installed one way. Next step is to connect the connectors to the newly installed boards. They are all pretty straightforward. You'll pay attention to your pins, and they'll all plug in basically to the same place they unplugged from the original board. There is one exception. It's listed in the instructions, and you'll have to pay attention. On this final center pin, you'll see how the pin is in the 4th location on the board. You just need to make sure that you plug that in according to the pin. You'll have 2 exposed pins on the outside of that connector. That is correct. You continue to plug in the boards. Very straightforward. Now we'll be doing steps 9 through 15 to complete the BACKBOX installation. You'll see here that I've plugged in the USB cable for the power that runs to the playfield monitor. And then this is the location to plug in the HDMI cable to drive this display for your back panel. So there's a lot of wires to plug in, so just go one by one and it'll all come together. So first we're going to install the plug that will provide power to the display driver. That plugs into the pin sound board. We're going to plug in the HDMI cable for the playfield monitor. We're going to plug in the HDMI cable for the speaker panel monitor. We need to plug in the sound for the speakers into the pin sound board. So you have this orange connector that plugs into the bottom connector there. And then you'll plug in your cabinet speaker to this little connector there. Only one wire is now left to be plugged in, and that's the wire that is powering the Raspberry MPU board. It's in there, and then we'll plug into a USB port that is behind that little thumb drive. So all that's left to do in the BACKBOX now is to wrangle these wires, get it presentable, and then we can move on. Step 14 is to install the speaker panel now that all the wires are angled. So we'll close the light box. Remember to remove the protective film from all your surfaces. And there'll be some 3M tape in each corner, and that's going to secure the plastic panel. Plastic panel, I have already removed the protective film. I'll slide that in the top. And get it nice and straight. Hit the corners. And adhere it with 3M tape. And pick the whole assembly up. Be careful of your cables as you put this in place. You will drop this in place like that. It will drop into place like any other speaker panel would. The final step is to install the BACKGLASS. It installs as the original is installed. Lock it in, and that completes the installation. This has been the installation video for Funhouse, Rudy's Nightmare. I'm Jim Martin with RenoPinball. I can be found at RenoPinball.com. For information about this kit, please contact Planetary Pinball Supply at planetarypinball.com. Thank you.